Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining the Clallam County Economic Development Council's EDC's coffee chat. We appreciate you joining us this morning to listen into an important presentation by one of our favorite people in the county, Dr. Suzy Ames. She also serves as the board chair of the Clallam EDC, so we are really honored to be able to work with her and have her lead our board, but also certainly to come and talk to you, share with you a lot of the good news that has been happening up at Peninsula College since she took the helm. So just a couple housekeeping items. If you want to ask any questions, please raise your hand and we'll call on you. Alternatively, if you'd like me to ask the question on your behalf, you can put the question in the chat. So with that, thank you again, Suzy, for joining us, and please take it away.
Great. It's great to see you all. I want to acknowledge a few folks in the room. I see Dr. Mike Maxwell, who's our outgoing board of trustee chair and had the distinct privilege of hiring me, and super sad to see his tenure going off after 13 years on the PC board. But thanks for your endless support, Mike. Thanks for being here.
Best thing you ever did, Suzy.
Thank you, my friend.
I agree.
Yeah, and a few Peninsula College employees we have an amazing team, and I'll show you some really exciting progress that we made, and we couldn't do it without the PC team. That is just a remarkable crew. So just great to be here. I have this prepared presentation. Some of you might have seen the article in the paper this morning. I'll leave some time at the end to talk about that. Representative Theringer, I've not had the privilege to talking with you directly about that, so we can tee it off this morning, and then you and can have a more in-depth conversation about that as well later on. So I'm going to share my screen, and then we're going to get going here. Just fair warning, I have been told that there is going to be a black box in some corner of what you're seeing here. I can't see it on my end, and therefore I can't fix it, but hopefully it won't be too disruptive. Does that work, Colleen? Can you see the
Yes.
Okay, great.
We do have the black box on the right, but
sorry.
We'll get through.
Okay, great. So starting off, I think I presented about a year ago, and I think I showed this picture. This has been for the past 2 years my mental picture of Peninsula College, a steam-powered paddle boat going down the Mississippi River, but more importantly, a very still paddle that wasn't moving. I pictured this boat docked at the port, and just thinking about the exponential energy that it was going to take to get this college, to get this ship moving. When you think about a steam-powered boat, you've got to get that spark, and then you've got to get that energy built up before this thing starts moving. And to be honest, it was pretty daunting to even think about how to get this institution moving. But we started to see some early signs last year that things were getting some traction. We had seen significant growth in transitional studies and continuing education, and we were just about to start 9 new instructional programs 1 year ago today. And so I gave a presentation to the college community a year ago saying it's going to be a heck of a lot of work, but I see we're poised well. And I'm here to tell you that while I said that, no way could I have ever imagined that we would be where we are today. And I have a very different mental picture of Peninsula College now.
That's great.
This is us. We aren't a steam-powered paddle boat anymore. We are flying, folks. And I shared this with the college community last week at our big welcome back day when the faculty came back. And I want to note 2 things. One, no one's falling off, although some of our employees might feel like they're about to because it's been a wild ride. And also, I think they're smiling, but it might be that kind of smile that you don't really start smiling until you get off of the roller coaster and you realize you're still alive. So it's a little bit crazy here. It's a lot crazy here, particularly for our advisors, our team registering students, our deans trying to find part-time faculty so they can add new sections. It's just been really phenomenal growth. So I'm going to show you some data of where we were the past 9, 10 months of the 23-24 academic year that ended at the end of June. So we were first in the state. We have 34 community and technical colleges in Washington, and Peninsula College was first in the state in percentage growth for all FTEs. An FTE is a full-time equivalent student. And we count FTEs in all sorts of ways, as you might imagine. One of them is just all full-time students. So if you're a student taking 5 credits, we would cobble together in our data 3 students taking 5 credits, and that would total 1 FTE of equivalent of 15 credits. Or if you're 1 student taking a full load of 15 credits, then you count them as 1 FTE. So it's complicated, but the moral of the story here is we were first. We came from the bottom and now we're at the top. And so this percentage growth increase is something we're really, really proud of. The other good news on this slide.
So,
is the
Suzy,
purple bar. Yeah.
to clarify, that's comparing 2022 school year to the 2023-2024 school year.
That's correct.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
And
Thank you.
Suzy, is that all of that's not community college? So what is, are these vocation? What are those other colleges?
34, we have 34 community and technical colleges in the state. So
Okay,
this side just shows you the top ones.
okay, got it.
But the other good news is that purple bar is the 108% of our system total. All combined, all 34 colleges were 108% up over last year.
Yeah,
which
that's what I was trying to figure out. The math didn't work with
Yeah.
just those bars, so I
No,
was
no, no. This is just a
Okay.
sampling of who else was in our top competitive peers.
Thank you.
The good news about that for the economy is that community colleges are rebounding statewide from the pandemic massive decline in enrollment. Peninsula College was also first in the state in state-funded FTEs. So we get an allocation from the state to serve a certain amount of students, and that target ebbs and flows depending on the economy. And we were, again, first in the state in percentage increase in serving state-funded FTEs. We're also first in the state in applied bachelor's degree growth. So I'll talk about the where that growth came from in a minute, but this is a result of starting several new applied bachelor's degrees last year. And what you're seeing is students are enrolling in them, which is a really great sign for our economy, that people are getting locally bachelor's degrees that are tied to local jobs in our workforce. We were second in the state in serving online students. This fall, we're seeing a greater demand in face-to-face classes, as well as a consistent demand for online classes. And that's not unusual for Peninsula College. Even pre-COVID, we were a leader in online education just because of our vast geographic area, and it's just really hard to get to Port Angeles. We were 4th in the state in running start enrollments. And we were 5th in the state in worker retraining enrollments. Worker retraining is the program that provides training and education benefits to people who've been laid off from their jobs. This does not count the McKinley factor because that happened after the school year ended. So where we got here, how we got here, we grew 10% over last fall. We grew 20% over last winter, and we grew 30% over last spring. So that was telling me that we were really kind of just getting started, and that we were really clicking on all cylinders starting in spring quarter. And then summer and fall data started to come in and really just blew our minds. So summer quarter that just ended, we saw a 72% increase over last summer. Just phenomenal numbers we never could have possibly imagined. Summer is not a quarter that we bank on. We don't. It's on the shoulder of our primary fall, winter, and spring. And then all summer long, we watched students just coming to us registering for fall quarter. Fall quarter started Monday, and most heavily started yesterday. And so we will continue to track final numbers for fall. We continue to enroll students all quarter long, but this is where we were a week before the quarter started. 62% over last fall, which is just really amazing. And I can't explain it, and I've never seen anything like it. My peers have never seen anything like it. We think it's just that flywheel is starting to move, and the word is out that PC is offering really relevant education, and we're here to serve the community. I'll show you that I'm going to kind of switch gears now away from data to show you why I really do think we're just getting started. We have significant new grant funding that will go into effect this year, this fall, that will inevitably bring even more students. So Peninsula College brought in $8 million in grants in just the past 2 years, and more than 50 million for our greater community. When we apply for grants, we often go with partners, and so collectively we brought in over 50 million. And there are 4 projects specifically that are going to launch this fall quarter. And I'm excited to say that these are not all about, none of these are about chasing the dollars. They're all about strategically trying to fulfill our mission and our strategic plan. So the first one is a grant funded by the Washington Student Achievement Council called the Regional Challenge Grant. This one is going to create resource hubs that will be available weekly in Port Angeles, Forks, and Port Townsend. And we're partnering with organizations like DSHS and the YMCA and Serenity House and Olympic Angels, and going out into the community where adults are who aren't currently they're not currently without the full suite of services that they need, whether it's food stamps or learning how to pay for college and everything in between. We're going together with our community partners out into the community to provide people with wraparound services and also help them fill out the FAFSA and recognize what's the soonest possible point you could go to college with these services. Chances are, given all the aid we have federally and statewide, your tuition would be free. So how can we help them recognize that and realize that college is a lot more attainable than they might have thought? The next grant that we got is from the Gates Foundation. Some of you have heard me talk about this for many months now. It's finally going to affect this fall quarter, where College Success Foundation staff are hiring advisors who will be embedded in our local high schools doing advising, mentoring, and career college coaching. They will be what I call field trips on steroids, where high school 11th and 12th graders will be coming to Peninsula College in droves, and our faculty are getting paid to create really innovative, fun, engaging, targeted learning opportunities for the students who will be coming here, so that we can start to dispel the myth that college is just like high school, and we can get folks excited about what it might mean to enroll at Peninsula College. The next grant that we got is from NOAA, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, through the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges. I believe it's 5 or 6 community colleges. Collectively, we secured this NOAA grant. We started our natural resources program a year ago, and it's doing remarkably well in enrollment and creating a new pipeline for our natural resources industry. And this grant will specifically give us support to partner with regional tribes to help indigenize the environmental science and natural resources workforce. 80% of tribal workforce in natural resources are non-Indigenous employees, and we would like to give them the opportunity to grow their own workforce in a really sustainable way. And so tribes will be receiving funding, as well as the college receiving funding to provide recruitment and retention and relationship building with the tribes. And then the last grant you all know about is the Recompete grant, bringing $35 million to our community, and specifically $4.3 million to Peninsula College. We're going to experiment with mobile education. We're going to buy 2 semi trucks, and we're going to be driving them around to the furthest corners of our district teaching welding and components of marine technology. And EDA wants us to, Economic Development Administration wants us to experiment. They want us with these funds to try things that we haven't done before, to see if we can crack that nut on how to turn an economically depressed region around. So they're excited about this, this effort will be getting off the ground. We also are going to be partnering with the Squim School District. They are building their new skills center, and with recompete funds, they're able to purchase transportation simulators, and those simulators will teach truck driving, backhoe, and forklift driving, amongst other things. And the school district is a great partner, and we'll be able to offer job training on those simulators to adults on like a night and weekend opportunity. So switching to the third element of my presentation, which is now we have all these students here, and we are and we're going to see more through these new grants. And if there's one thing that keeps me up at night, it's this sense of obligation that in an economically depressed region, we've told a lot of our community members, come try college again. It might not have worked for you last time. This time will be different. Or if you've never tried it before and you don't think it's for you, let's try it again, or try it for a first time. And I can't imagine anything other than these students filled with huge levels of self-doubt. They might have had negative educational experiences in the past that are just beating like a drum in their minds, and they just aren't confident that this is where they should be. And so how do we help turn their story around and set them up for success this time? My biggest fear would be someone who trusted us, who believed us to say, okay, I'm trusting you, I'm going to give this a shot, and it doesn't go well, and they turn right back around, and then that narrative just gets perpetuated for themselves, their friends, and their family. So we've been talking as a college community about how we help our students change their trajectory and write a new narrative. So it turns out that there's actually science behind giving students hope. And I'm really intrigued with this concept of the science of hope. And this is a book that I read this summer, introduced to the college community last week, and will be actually infusing it throughout our greater community in the coming days and weeks. So the concept of the science of hope is that the more hope you have, the more the better mental and physical health you'll be in. And as it relates to my world in higher ed, the better academic achievement that you'll have. So hope, the scientists show, is that there's actual research to predict academic achievement at all ages, from elementary school through college. And you can track levels of hope to attendance, grades, test scores. It can be even a predictor of retention and college graduation rates. And people who have higher levels of hope are better at critical thinking, and better at problem solving, and better at overcoming adversity. People are able to handle stress more adeptly, and they're often more successful employees. And the book says that your level of hope is the single best predictor of overall well-being compared to other measures of trauma recovery. So it's a really remarkable framework to think about how we help people get on a better trajectory of life. So there is a definition of hope by the authors, is that they say it's a positive motivational state based on goal-directed energy. It's the belief that your future can be brighter and better than our past, and that you have a role to play in making it. And there are three really simple components of hope. And they are having a goal that's clear and achievable, whether it's an academic or personal goal, having a path to achieve that goal, and having agency or willpower motivation to believe that that goal is attainable. So diving into goals. So goals, it's a fact that people who are more hopeful naturally probably set goals and they don't even know it. But goals can be short-term and long-term. They must be desirable and exciting for the person achieving them. And the person setting out the goal needs to have the ability to focus attention on it. And they need to be able to focus on the goal with intentionality. You have to have a pathway to know how you're going to reach that goal. It doesn't help to have a goal if you don't know how you're going to achieve it. So you need to know what your pathway is. You need to know if there's what your key check-in points are along the way to know if you're making progress. You need to know if there's more than one way to get to your goal. And it's okay if it's not a linear path, but it's important to note that every time you take a step closer towards your goal, your hope is going to rise exponentially. And then lastly, people need agency or willpower as a third step to hope. And this is the motivational aspect. It's that notion of being able to dedicate your mental energy, having power and agency over your journey. And it means that you know you can get there from here, even though it might be a long road. And oftentimes people need friends, mentors, teachers, and advisors encouraging them on. And hope needs to be replenished every single day in big and small ways. So according to the science of hope, you need all three of these: goals, pathways, and motivations. You can't just take one element or the other. It's the complete package. So I brought the science of hope to PC because I think that we have the ability to infuse it into our college culture in ways where we're already doing many of these elements, but now we can do it with intentionality and doing it knowing that it's within the framework of this social science research. And at the end of the day, help students rewrite their narrative and help them experience the power of higher education. There are in the book some really quite simple self-examination questions you can ask yourself to measure where you are on the hope scale. And then there's also another one specifically for academics, where students could measure where they are and how prepared are they. And if they're not that well prepared yet, then how can they tap into resources at the college to help them shore up their levels of hope? So this concept is catching on. On October 7th, we're partnering with Clallam Resilience Project, Kitsap Strong, and Mentor Washington. And there will be a webinar hosted at a few employer sites throughout the community, as well as some public sites, where folks can get a little bit of a deeper dive into the science of hope. We'll be hosting one at Peninsula College. The College Success Foundation will also be learning this as well, so they could infuse it into the Gates grant. And then October 24th, there'll be a Studium Generale presentation on this as well for the general public, which will be October 24th from 12:30 to 1:30, which will be on Zoom and in person. There's also on October 7th, there are public watch parties at the Quileute Community Center, at Ole Cap in Port Townsend, and in Port Angeles at the Senior Center. So there's some really cool traction on the science of hope that we're excited about in not just Peninsula College infusing this in our students, but there's also practical applications with the science of hope in healthcare, in the court system, in the social justice system, and in any ways where we might have community members who need a little bit of a lift. So how about if I stop there, answer a couple of questions, and then I'll address the article that was in the paper today. I saw Heather's hand up earlier, and then I'll go to Bill. Heather, are you still here?
I am, but I started having loud children in the background and thought maybe I shouldn't ask a question. My very brief question with Suzy is, first of all, I just really appreciate hearing you give this overview, and Colleen for continuing to host these. I'm, at the state level, state agency, WASAC, supporting the Regional Challenge Grant, and it's so impactful to see how that fits into the broader work that not only the college is doing, but also this region as a whole. And I just have to say, wow, like you all are really, really impressive right now with gaining these grants and coordinating and the focus. And I'm just very excited about it. So I had to say that first.
Thanks,
And
Heather.
the main question that I had was, Suzy, I think there are so many colleges, so many great community and technical colleges in our state. Is there a way that you could offer some context in regards to the grants? Like, I have no sense of, do we know if any of our other community and technical colleges are receiving other federal grants like the recompete like you all, or pulling in the other grant that you mentioned? The enrollment level was a helpful kind of context, and I'm wondering if you can also share anything you can on the grant piece with other community and technical colleges.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. Heather's been an awesome partner with Washington Student Achievement Council. So it's great to have you on here. I didn't mention that there's awesome synergy between the Regional Challenge Grant and the Recompete Grant in providing comprehensive wraparound support services to our community. And we got the Recompete Grant after we got the Regional Challenge Grant. And so WASAC's been really great to help us think through how we leverage both together. But the end of the day, we're going to provide significant more wraparound support services to our community members who need it the most, which is really exciting. So the short answer is yes, our colleges are pretty darn savvy at getting grants. We have to be, because there isn't enough state funding to do what we need to do. There are grants from the federal level, from the National Science Foundation, from the Department of Education, from the Department of Labor, many of which are specifically designed for community colleges. They are a heavy lift to apply for and a heavy lift to manage. And so we have to be really thoughtful on which ones we even go for, because sometimes they can be more burdened than they're worth. Now that we're starting all 4 of these, we're slowing down a little bit intentionally. We're not going to go for a big one at Department of Ed next month because we don't think we'd be able to sustain it. And we want to make sure we do these and we do them well, and that we're positioned to strategically leverage them. That NOAA grant was sponsored by the State Board for Community Technical Colleges, and several community colleges are, I think it's every college that has a natural resources program will be part of that effort and part of that grant. So we also, because we're like sister colleges, so we often reach out to each other and collaborate on grant applications together if we have complementary components that we can bring to it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
But you are the only college for the recompete, right? Is that the only?
Yeah, we are, and I don't know, Colleen, where's the next closest state that got it?
I think, well, we were the only state on the West Coast. There were 6 in the US. One was Puerto Rico. And the others were Kentucky, Florida, East Coast. So
Okay.
it was really limited.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bill.
Yeah, just quickly, I just could not say something about the science of hope. This is, it's so amazing. You know, this desk, I'm thinking here, this book is on my desk right now. I'd finished it, but I'm always looking and giving away copies of it because it's so transformative. And our youth program Pathways is specifically built around this program. And so I'm so excited to see using it in the adult ed space, because I think we've been losing and thinking that this is only for children, when actually what we see, at least what I see coming into our centers, are broken adults who have never advanced from children because they never had really that kind of hope to think that they could make it, right? And we see just so much of it every day. And so I just want to say, one, thank you for, you know, looking at this innovative program. And I know it's going to make a huge difference in everything you do, just because it's a slight change to the way in which we approach our students or approach our people, and get them to think about, you know, what's going to really make them happy, and having that hope in their just an opportunity to help create that, right, among people. So one question, the only question I really have is, you've got a big mission to get a bunch of new programs and staff. how any strategies for recruitment, or I don't want to obviously give anything away, but you got a bunch of you have to get some obviously additional teachers and things like that. Again, any strategy, or do you feel like that's going to be a difficult lift, or how possible to grow your own in some cases?
Yeah, thank you, Bill. I'm thrilled to hear that you are a believer in the science of hope. I just put a note in the chat directing you to Clallam Resilience Project, and specifically October is Resilience Month, and there are a whole host of resiliency-based programs scheduled for the month of October, including these watch parties for the Science of Hope, so you can learn more, as well as and the Studio Generale one on October 24th is another one of those. I've also heard from my employees that you can download the book for free on Audible. The book, since Bill gave me a minute to talk about it, the book is part self-help. You can take or leave that part if you don't feel like you need it personally, or you can think about who others in your circle might need it. It does have a slice of a religious tone to it. I personally am not religious, but I consider myself a spiritual person. I didn't find that offensive in the least. It's more just like, if you have a religious tendency, that's your draw, that will help you with your motivation as a place where you can draw a source of strength from. So just for what it's worth. And then there's a strong thread throughout the whole book about systems, how hospitals and educational systems and the court system could embrace this model to help the people that they serve. And there's just really hard science and data that shows it turns people's lives around. And if you have more challenges in your life, I don't want to like be Pollyanna to say, oh, just do these 3 easy steps and you'll be a new person. It will be more challenging the more challenging your life is, and the science still shows that it works. So it just might not be quite such a linear path. Our Dean of Arts and Sciences, I don't think he's on the call today. He busted his butt this summer quarter trying to find enough faculty to teach things like statistics in Forks, and we needed lots more English classes. Just when you get that big of a demand for students, you're going to have to offer a lot more sections, and we're doing what we call chasing the FTEs. We're chasing the students. If there's student demand for a class, we're going to figure out how to offer it. Our current faculty, many of them added extra classes. Many of them also added more students per classroom. And then we also did hire more part-time faculty. Where we are feeling a major pinch point right now is on the advising side. So it's really hard to just go find an advisor. That is usually a national search, and you get them trained and you get them onboarded. So our advisors are tired, and I've made them a promise that we will hire more of them, but we can't do that right now because no one would have ever expected a 50% enrollment increase, and we don't get extra state funding for all these extra students we're serving, but we do get their tuition. And so I need a couple more quarters of enrollment trajectory to know whether this is going to stay, or I don't think that there's going to be a cliff, but I don't know. And I can't make a commitment to a full-time employee until we know that the tuition levels are going to keep going. Mike.
Hi, thanks, Suzy. Yeah, I just wanted to, I don't have a question so much as a comment from a trustee standpoint. So we've been watching this enrollment increase, and it's been really impressive. And as Suzy noted, it was a result of a confluence of a lot of factors, social, economic, public health, but some very intentional strategic planning and execution by the college. But Suzy's humility prevents her from fully acknowledging how her leadership has been really the catalyst. It's been the primary catalyst, and I just want to call that out. She's had this vision and energy, and her management style and just her engagement has really been key. As many of you on this call know, she was engaging with the business community before she was even hired. So it shows that, you know, she really has brought this really just innate understanding about how important that engagement, being at the college with the business community is for the success of both the community and the college. And so we've just been really so fortunate to have her in the community, and she's, you know, the right leader at the right time for this transformation. It feels like we're on the cusp of in Port Angeles. So I'm stepping off the board. You know, I was serious that this was the best thing I ever did. That it's a great. I'm stepping off proud and grateful and confident that we're in good hands. You know, I'm gonna miss the ride on the speedboat, but it'll be fun to watch it from the shore. So thank you, Suzy.
Thank you so much, Mike. Mike's just been an amazing colleague from day one. So thank you. And will be immensely missed, but still got you on speed dial. And Colleen was my partner in crime. For those who don't know, I called her before I got the job, and she helped me get the lay of the land of and Ron Allen and a few other folks have been really amazing colleagues since I got the job. So I'm grateful.
And I have to interject here that it was such a refreshing pivot, that really understanding that the community college had a goal to help the community and the people here. And that I think, if I recall correctly, the enrollment in the prior decade before Suzy's arrival went from about 2,000 FTEs down to 1,000. And now you brought it back up to, what is it, 1,600? Is that
14,
right?
14, 15, yeah.
1,500. And just her understanding that, okay, well, we're here to help the people that live here find jobs that provide them a quality of life that allows them to stay and thrive. And that means we need to be connecting with the businesses that are here and helping them to be able to employ these people and making those connections. And, you know, that it was a deeper mission than Peninsula College needs to have enough income to keep going. It was more about what is our mission, not in serving the community, rather than how do we keep Peninsula College afloat. So it was just so refreshing and lovely. And yeah, I really was keeping my fingers crossed that the Board of Trustees would select Suzy, and I'm so glad you did. Great work.
Colleen. Thanks. I also want to recognize Dr. Mia Boster and Brian Kneidl in the room. So we started 9 new instructional programs in 1 year ago, half of those on the associate's degree and half on the bachelor's degree. I don't think our bachelor's degree dean is on the call today, but man, without those 3 folks, we couldn't have done it. Like, it would be me in front of a podium saying, let's do this, and nothing would have happened. The real work happened at the dean level, starting these new programs. And I know Mia's beaming right now. She cracks me up, but she's just having a blast because she gets to go do all this great fun work, but it's an exorbitant amount of work. Nobody starts 9 programs in 1 year. You might start 2, you might start 1, and nobody does 9. But Mia and Brian are just a dynamic team that really turned on our workforce programs overnight in a way that I've never seen before.
Thank you, Suzy, and thank you for coming to Peninsula.
Thanks for having me. Never leaving. Okay, Roy, and then we'll talk about the unfortunate Office of Financial Management news.
Well, thank you, Suzy. I've been following your work and very grateful for it. And bravo for the overview and the scope and the focuses. And I work with Bellingham, Whatcom Community, Western Washington University, Bellingham Tech on a similar rollout. And I worked with Snow Isle and Clark County Vocational Skills Center, now Cascadia Institute. And I was grateful when you came because of your background with vocational training. And that's not often well administered within community colleges. And I think that in our community, that role is very important, and you've built it out. I've been to Forks campus. I've been on your campus several times. Mostly, I'm interested in how can people associate to the college to be helpful. Like I know I read in one article about as students are up and running, like I see Rebecca down at Forks Branch and stuff, how do you support people in a tutorial program or just as a go-to, or if someone is doing that, like when you said your numbers, fall, winter, spring, where everybody first quarter, second quarter, they drop off. How do you keep that dropout thing from going by using community members to mentor? And secondly, community schools I've worked with is translating some of the academic or content delivery and courses to a community schools model using local businesses, agencies, and people that would mentor people on independent studies by using variable formats and delivery of instruction rather than just frontal didactics in the boxes or Zoom. There are more creative formats to keep kids engaged and interacting with other agencies and people in the community. That's it. Thank you for your listening to that. And how do people get in touch to help?
I'm gonna nominate our deans. They are the ones who manage our industry advisory committees. So every professional technical job training program we have is required to have a designated industry advisory committee. These are made up of community members who are specifically tied to whatever industry we are preparing our local workforce to our students to go out and to compete as local employees. So they meet quarterly. They give us guidance on our curriculum to make sure it's relevant. If it's a program where we have technology or tools, they assess our technology to make sure that it matches what you would work on when you get out into the workforce. They are essential to making sure that what we teach is relevant. So Mia put her email address in the chat. Mia, can you add Brian's too? Just to, or do you want to filter them out?
I'll add Brian's. I also put a link to our advisory member webpage to show you what groups we have for programs and also who is already a member. And if you're interested, email me or Brian. I'm going to put Brian's email in here.
And they can help you align anybody's passion and experience to an appropriate industry advisory committee. And then that's our built-in advisor system to make sure that we're relevant to the local workforce. Okay, so we've got about 15 minutes. I want to switch gears to the article that came out in the paper today. So the Office of Financial Management is our state agency that manages all state funds. Underneath the Office of Financial Management is the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges. They are our Olympia state agency, and underneath them are 34 community and technical colleges. So when the legislature and the governor decide how much money the community colleges are to receive on any given biennium, the money gets calculated and sorted out through the legislative budget staff and the Office of Financial Management staff, and then gets directed out to the State Board for Community and Technical Colleges, and then the 34 colleges. Office of Financial Management and the legislative staff made a budget error. And the way the budget error happened was we have a state law that says community college faculty's salaries have to be adjusted to keep pace with the King County Cost of Living Index, a CPI. And it's an initiative that was passed 15 plus years ago. It's been around for a long time. It's called Initiative 732. And the Office of Financial Management is the state agency that's charged with tracking how much is that going to cost the state any given biennium. So they do long-term projections. So 4 years ago, they did a projection on what it was going to cost the state in 2023 and 2024. And in their massive spreadsheet, they put a placeholder number for what that was going to be. And then fast forward 4 years later, when we got the actual number, when the financial analysts do the exact calculation, staffers who manage the budget at the state level didn't remove the placeholder number and put in the actual number. They accidentally kept the placeholder number and put in the actual number. And it resulted in an overpayment to the community and technical colleges. Peninsula College's share of that overpayment is $340,000. $339,115 to be exact. There, from what we have been told by the state staffers at OFM, there's absolutely no way the state board staff or any college staff could have ever known that we were receiving more money than we should have gotten. They called it's in the bowels of the budget. So we don't have the capability, nor does state board staff, to calculate what Initiative 732 salary percentage increase based on the King County CPI should mean for Peninsula College's 150 faculty. That's just not a calculation that you could ever make. So when the state gave us our allocation for the biennium, we could do nothing else but just to assume that it's correct. And so every college then spent that money. Peninsula College spent that money through bargaining the faculty union contract that just the Board of Trustees signed in June. So that is money that is committed to our faculty salaries, which is where it came from in the calculation of Initiative 732. The Office of Financial Management is saying that we need to pay that money back. And the community and technical college system is asking for relief because it was an error at the state level that we never could have prevented on our level, and we made commitments to it. So it turns from a clerical budget error to a political conversation, and it will be a political conversation starting with our local legislators and with the new governor. The legislature and the governor have the ability to make us whole and not have us pay this money back. If Peninsula College had to pay the money back, we would either have to lay off employees to come up with $339,000, or as we calculate these tuition increases that I just talked about a minute ago, we would have to use those tuition increase dollars to pay it back. But that means I can't hire advisors who are dead on their feet trying to serve a 50% increase in students. So either way, it's going to significantly negatively harm college employees who are trying to serve a 50% increase in enrollment. So that's the conversation that I'll be having, that our trustees will be having with all of our local legislators to ask for relief and embed it into our budget because it's already committed.
Very good. Any comments there?
Representative Derringer.
Yeah, I think, Suzy, as usual, you've done a very comprehensive review of the problem, and it is our problem at the state level. And I think that as your presentation has shown, the value of what you've been doing and the increase in enrollment is just a really strong argument for us to capture those dollars in our budget. Though, as I mentioned at the top before maybe the session started, our budget is challenged like a lot of other folks. We're about $10 to $11 billion upside down in the state budget right now, based on all the factors that go into that budget. And that, hopefully that number might shrink as we get closer to budget writing time in January and February. But I think that the argument, sort of the political argument, is the value you're bringing to the communities, right? And so that's a very strong argument. And I think there's a number of legislators. I mean, just to look at the numbers, right? There's 32 community colleges
34,
around.
yeah.
Those are a lot of districts. Those are a lot of people being helped. And in a $67 billion budget, coming up with a 23 million, I mean, still a lot of money, and there is red ink around, but I think the value is there. And so my hope is that we'll be able to just keep you whole Where the impact might be is in the biennial budget, right? That number might not be as robust, but at least that's a number you could plan to, as opposed to the situation you're in right now. So I'm optimistic. I have hope that we'll be able to keep you whole in this part of the cycle, and then see how it works out through the biennial process. So the 4-year numbers, we're required by law to have that 4-year projection. As folks know that do any budgeting, the further you get out, the squishier those numbers become. And so although we budgeted have to budget for the 4 years, I think everyone knows those numbers are not as, as solid as the ones in the 2-year biennial budget. So all of that, I think, helps your case for the near term. So
thank you, Representative Theringer. We're just so grateful and lucky to have you in a leadership role in the legislature. So thank you.
Yeah, I just want to pile on for the comments that have been made. You've made such a great difference, Suzy, for the community. It's just so impressive and so exciting to see that energy and that positivity. So thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a great partnership that we have with our community. I will answer Rebecca's question, and then I wanted to share one other thing about professional technical training. So Rebecca, I haven't ever heard of an error like this. Representative Theringer, I don't know if you know that if OFM calculation errors like this happen often. I've never seen it happen.
No, to be honest, I use this a little bit in the capital budget, and I'm able to book 2 items that have been to my advantage, but I don't want to give away any budget writing secrets, but it is that as I think you explained, between the 2-year and the 4-year. And so I've not heard of mistakes, and certainly have not heard of them trying to recapture the money. That just seems, just very challenging to do, quite frankly.
Yeah. And then Rebecca, this was not a Peninsula College issue. This was a statewide community and technical college problem. So total, it was $28 million that went to the state board and then got allocated to 34 colleges. It just happens to be that PC's slice of that is $339,000. The other thing I want to add is, so a comprehensive community college, when we are fully living our mission, we have what we call 4 legs of our stool. And one is a transfer program where you get the first 2 years of a 4-year degree, and then you go on to get your bachelor's degree at a university. The second one is job training program that we've talked a lot about today. And that's where PC had been really not fulfilling its mission and not serving the local workforce. And that's why we started so many new programs at the associate's level and at the bachelor's level, all tied to local jobs. We also, since I've arrived, significantly expanded our transitional studies program. That's the 3rd leg of the stool. That is where we teach English language acquisition, and we also help students earn their high school diploma if they dropped out of high school and now they're an adult. And then the 4th leg of the stool is continuing education. Those are our non-credit courses. So PC now is a stable stool with the 4 legs of the stool that we should have always had. And they're all really critical components. And now our enrollment at the level it's at, enrollment is soaring in all 4 of those legs of the stool. So now we're serving the community in the right way, where no matter where you are on that academic level, whether you dropped out of high school, or you're ready for your bachelor's degree, or you want to go to a university transfer, you just need a Saturday class to learn how to write a grant, we have the whole suite, and they're all equally important and they're all really critical. So that's why we just grew the prop tech side, because for a long time PC had just put a lot of its eggs in the 2-year associate's degree transfer side of the house, which is equally important, but that's not the whole picture. So just wanted to explain that background of how we operate as a college. I think we have 1 or 2 more minutes. Jim, you have a question?
I do. Thank you, Suzy, and congratulations Good job. Add my praise to everybody else. My question is about enrollment demographics with the increased enrollment. Just right soon after you got here, I was in a meeting where you were presenting some facts and figures about the college, particularly enrollment demographics. And I recall the male enrollment number at that point was somewhere in the high 30s as far as a percentage of total enrollment. And I almost fell out of my chair. Have the demographic distribution numbers changed in any significant way since a couple of years ago?
I'm looking at my. Hang on a second. Hey, Trisha, can you bring me my new trustee orientation handbook, please? I can get that number while we're sitting here. We pulled those numbers and we put together a little chart, but I don't know off the top of my head.
No, I don't need precise numbers. I'm just wondering
if the male, the female, the charts that Terry produced. Did you put yours? Oh, I don't know. Trisha's getting it for me because she's amazing. All right.
Also speak, Suzy, to the percentage of students that are international students. I know for a period, Peninsula College was really pursuing increasing the number of international students, I think presumably because they paid a higher tuition rate to the school.
Yeah, so our international enrollment is slowly growing. It's about 50 students right now, maybe 60 students. Back in the heyday, we were, thank you. We were at like almost over 100 or hovering in the low 100s. And to be honest, the Trump administration rules and then COVID sunk that trajectory, and I don't think we'll ever be back to those days. Well, maybe never, but Australia and Canada really took a stronghold on international education in that time. So we're about 50, 60. So Jim, unfortunately I have bad news for you. The male demographics did not change. 34% of our, these are last year's numbers that just ended. 34% of our students are male and 52% are female. And 13% are not reported choosing not to select a gender. And that is a national problem. And it's probably the conversation Jim was in with me. The national problem, it's called Where Are the Boys? Where are the Men? They are choosing not to seek higher education across the country. And it's a real concern. They're not joining the military. They're not in droves in the workforce, and they're not in higher education.
Wow.
Which means they're on their parents' couches playing video games.
Yeah, I remember you saying this was not unique to Peninsula College, excuse me, a national phenomenon, et cetera, et cetera. So, wow.
Yeah.
That's tough.
All right. Well, we've hit the 9 o'clock mark. So, Suzy, thank you for your presentation and everybody's questions. We're just so lucky to have you here as a community leader. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here. Thrilled to partner with each of you.
Yes. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.